Hey, what's up everybody? It's Mike with the Riders Rep channel. I'm sitting here today with Kevin Abbate. Kevin is one of the premier promoters in South Florida for road racing and criteriums. We are going to spend some time today talking about him as a rider, learning a little bit more about how Kevin got into promoting, race promoting, and see where it goes. So thanks for coming along. Kevin, welcome.
Well, thank you.
It's good to spend some time with you.
Yeah, no doubt.
So,
my legs are tired after 5 hours today.
So you did 5 hours on the bike today?
Totally chill.
Nice,
Yeah.
easy ride?
Easy ride.
Okay. Now do you race as well though?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever race in your own races?
I
Are you able to?
I can't. If things go sideways, well, first of all, when I have a permit with the park, somebody of an official capacity needs to be there. And however, if the software does something funky, there's only one guy that knows how to work it.
Yeah, I guess they're not going to pull you out of the race.
Yeah, well, yeah. My girlfriend knows now. She's getting really, really good at it, so she has a good understanding of like troubleshooting. But there are some things that she doesn't know. So yeah, maybe another year. But I honestly like I like the entertainment part of
watching the races,
and Facebook Live at them. So for me, I'd rather not be racing. I'd rather be entertaining because it's like a hobby.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Usually we start out and we do a little bit of an intro, a little bit of background about the person that we're interviewing. But today we kind of just got right into it, which is cool too. So where are you from?
Well, I was born in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and then I moved to Miami when I was 4 or 5.
So you've been here pretty much.
Yeah.
Forever.
So I was a high school baseball player, college baseball player, college cross country athlete. So my background is athletics and baseball, paid for all my school, and cross country helped pay for some of my school. And I was able to participate at a real high level. I played in the College World Series as a lefty.
Okay.
And I went to national cross country championships. So I have an endurance background, nothing to do with cycling.
Which is interesting because usually you don't get somebody who plays baseball, which is kind of like standing around, and then you've got an endurance sport, which is a lot of running.
I was a pitcher.
So at least you were kind of moving for...
Yeah. So in college, you're required to run when you pitch. So my college coach, who now is VP of the Boston Red Sox, he used to hate me because I was a runner.
It wasn't a big deal.
He didn't know what to do with me. So.
Yeah, because I remember playing soccer and you're running. You're running all the time. Yeah. That's really an endurance sport. They don't tend to cross over too much.
But, however, when I pitched in the mid-'80s and late '80s and early '90s, we didn't have a lot of relief pitching, so I was a 9-inning guy.
Oh, wow.
So but you needed the legs for 9 innings, and I didn't really get tired pitching. My arm got tired at the end, but normally that was my MO, is to try to complete a full game.
Way.
And I had to pry the ball out of my hand.
When did you get started riding bikes or get the idea to ride competitively?
So after the World Series of baseball in the late '80s, I got introduced to the sport of biathlon at the time. And I thought a long bike ride was about 15 or 16 miles, and I hated it.
Okay.
But I just wanted to run because I was a pretty good runner. I was, a low 15-minute 5K guy.
That's fast,
so that's, I would do really well. And there was only one guy to blame in running. That was myself. When it came to the sport of biathlon, and then they changed the name to duathlon over the years, I started getting decent on the bike, but not, and I would win a lot of races, but I just wasn't really strong. And so then my sport moved into adventure racing, and then mountain biking. Actually, mountain biking first. Then I went to adventure racing.
What exactly is an adventure race?
It's like kayaking and a lot of rope climbing. It's kind of like expect the unexpected in an adventure race, And
how many hours does an adventure race?
3 to 5. Okay. Yeah, it's the MO of an adventure race is anything that can happen will happen. So the race director, which I put on an adventure race as a race director way back in the day, and the idea was to cause complete chaos amongst the athletes. So I had a story when I was a manager for the Broward County Park System, which I worked for 16 years. I worked at Quiet Waters Park, and I opened up the mountain bike trails there.
Okay.
Way before Wilma destroyed them. And we put on an adventure race there, and we had 200 teams of 3. And so I enlisted the U.S. Army to come in, and we had all, if you recall, all the Australian pine trees. There was a very beautiful park. We used to do a lot of commercial shoots there because
Sure.
had this northern background. So I had the military folks, and I said they had a mandatory pre-race meeting. And I said the only thing that you guys are required to do is to know that you bike first, then you run, and then you're going to be using our canoes. That's all you need to know. And
Then go.
take this piece of rope with you, and we'll see you, 2 pieces of rope, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. So they all come in, and they're already pre-registered, and we like whisk them over to the starting line, and they're like, starting line?
What now?
They're in their biking shoes with their biking helmets on. What do we do? So we had the military guys in their full camo that were hiding in the trees, and we did the national anthem. They came out, and they like ordered everyone to tie their legs together for a 3-legged race for 1 mile. And then throughout the mile, they were doing all these military exercises before they got to their mountain bikes, in which we flatted 1 tire on every mountain bike and every team to see if they could figure out how to change tires or just, so we
Ride it flat or whatever.
Well, yeah, which you couldn't do. So we my goal was to cause complete chaos. And that
sound like a big pain.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do that.
And that was a really fun day for people. And that was kind of like, I started getting into that stuff as a part of my job.
Yeah.
I've always put on races for my job, mostly as a part of my job, reverse triathlons and holiday fantasy lights 5K run. I put that on for almost 10 years. So I've done a lot of race directing and stuff, but nothing like for personal gain. It was more just to kind of just do it. It was fun.
Sure.
I enjoyed that type of stuff.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
then I didn't get it. So basically, then I got into triathlon adventure racing, and then I got into triathlon, and I hurt my Achilles a little bit on the track.
running.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm running with these top guys like an idiot, and then ultimately I had to learn how to. I had to learn how to I kind of swim only, and that got boring. And I said, and then I was working at Trade Winds Park, and I said, I went out to one of the group rides on the Boca Tour rides, and all it was called back then, and I said, this is really sketchy. We should do some racing in our park. So I got Carlos Laborde.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Carlos.
Rest in peace,
Carlos.
Carlos. Yeah.
Carlos was
My
awesome.
man. Then Carlos kind of like, and I talked about like, we brought in Fernando Angel at the time. We tried it on a Tuesday, and then we tried it on a Thursday, and then we had the Pink Panther cycling team come on, and I was able to do all the races,
Because you had the other promoters.
Yeah, and I was able to do them all, and I started winning a lot of races in the 4 or 5s, and then like, oh, you need to cat up, and so then ultimately ended up racing for the Pink Panthers, and I've been racing for about 12 years now.
About 12 years?
Yeah, so not a long career.
Yeah, well, it's a good amount of time.
I'm getting better as I go because I don't know any better. So,
what would you say is your favorite type of a race?
well, I like crit racing. Most of the guys that know me don't like my style of racing because it's right out of the box.
You're that guy.
Yeah, I don't really need a big warm up. I just go right up. I have a good recovery, so I go as hard as I can. And my mentality is that somebody has to chase me. I don't care. It's only 45 minutes plus a few laps. And if someone doesn't chase me, and I've gotten to points where I've almost lapped the field with that mentality, or 4 guys break away and I sit up and I wait for them. So I have everyone knows I have a very attacking mentality. I'm very impatient.
So what's kind of funny is, as a sprinter myself, I really dislike the kind of rider that Kevin is, because I just need the race to be chill. And when the race is chill and I get a chance to not do anything, that's when I become dangerous in a race.
Yeah.
So it is kind of funny when you hear just the contrasting mentalities. And that's what's really cool about racing on the road is there's so many different kinds of riders and so many different kinds of backgrounds. So where Kevin has this endurance background, there are also people with more of a sprint type of a background. There's a few riders that are down here coming from track running.
Yeah.
And just all different kinds. And what's really cool is it breeds totally different level of skill from different riders, and it just makes the racing more fun.
Yeah. I try to get rid of you as early as I can.
So there was a guy that used to race down here. His name was Yosvani, and they used to call him Chalupa. Do you know? You ever heard of Chalupa? No, not Falcon. Yosvani. I don't know, but he was so fast. He was on the heavy side, but he was really fast, and they called him Chalupa because he could not be beaten in the sprint. Yeah. I've seen him win field sprints coming in the grass the whole way.
Oh, wow.
And so the joke was, if you remember the old Taco Bell commercial where they say, "Drop the chalupa."
Yeah.
If you don't drop the chalupa, you're not gonna win the race. Yeah. And that was kind of the joke. And if I can remember what his last name was, but I think it made him Martinez, but I'm not positive.
When it comes to the sprint, I back off.
Yeah, it gets sketchy, man. They really do get sketchy.
Yeah.
But I guess that's part of the mentality of what puts you there, you know.
I wonder, like, the guys that sprint, if they actually have to work on Monday. That's my mentality. I got to work on Monday, and I can't go in with a broken anything.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess at some point you just have to say, well, what are you good at, and how do you to make that work? What would you say is your best race story?
Well, I think when I was a state champion.
That was in a criterium?
In a road race.
In a road race, okay. Where was it?
It was up like in Brooksville. And
okay. Where's Brooksville? Is that
up
like
north?
Orlando?
It was very hilly. And,
that's Gainesville, I think.
Oh, it was like Dade City, that area. It was like in 2014.
Okay.
And it was one of these real fast days, and the whole group, it was like a rabbit. It went out front, and they brought you back, and nothing was happening for the first 2 hours. And I took this flyer, and I was like on these rolling hills, and I knew going into the final turn it was going to kind of go straight up, and an entire team compass was trying to bring me back, and I hit the corner first, and they all turned, and I heard crash, 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 and I went right to the finish line.
Done.
Well, a couple of guys got out of it, but it was too late. But I made the move.
Yeah. Hey,
and you know what? But if I didn't make that move, I would have been with the same corner. It was a tight corner, and I just figured I'd give it a shot. And that's when I came across the line. It was kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, you have to be able to read the course.
Yeah.
That's part of racing as well. Is not just like showing up. I've had people say to me, I race, but this guy took me out, or this guy crashed me, or this happened, or this happened. But really, at the end of the day, it's like just because you're pressing the right pedal when you're driving the car doesn't mean you're actually driving. Yeah. There's a lot that goes into it.
I'm actually a much better time trialist than I am a cyclist. I mean,
sounds like you have the ability to stay focused.
Yeah, I actually started that first. And I used to do all the ones in West Palm. I've won them a few years, and I even last year I rode the bike, my TT bike. I dusted off last year, and I rode for a month, and I took second.
Not bad.
Nivio crushed me, but it wasn't bad for not riding for like about 4 years.
Just went out there, and that was your thing.
I was like, give it a shot.
I have a funny story of the last TT I did. I did a 40K. This was probably 1998, 97, something like that. And it was a 40K, the one in West Palm.
Oh, yeah.
And I had this, it was a Louis Garneau TT bike, and I had been working on it and riding it and trying to get it ready. And I've always known I was a terrible time trial rider anyway. And there was a chilly morning. And I went out there with the expectations of being able to hold whatever the speed was. And because it was a chilly morning, my heart rate didn't want to get up as high as maybe it should have, or what I was expecting to do. So I went out, and I would say about 3 miles in, I completely blew myself up. Completely blew it up. To the point where I couldn't even turn the pedals, and I just said, screw it. And I turned around, and I rode back to my car, and I threw the bike back up onto the roof. I'm like, screw this, I'm going home, I'm going to sleep. And as I'm putting the bike back onto the roof, a guy comes over to me, and he makes a comment that he thought my bike was really cool. And it was cool. I mean, I really had decked this thing out. And I said, you want to buy it? And he said, sure, oh yeah, buy it. What do you want for it? And I don't even remember what I asked him for it. I just kind of wanted to get done with it at that point.
Got it pretty cheap.
Yeah. And we went to the bank. He took money out of the bank and he bought the bike on the spot. And I've never ridden another TT.
Yeah. TT, you know, when you don't have a lot of events, it's kind of hard to prep. I did it because I was doing triathlons.
Yeah, so you were ready.
It made sense to do them, you know.
As a track sprinter, who my races are usually less than a minute, anything even in the pursuit distance, which is about 5 minutes and change, maybe a little bit less than 5 minutes, even a pursuit I find like just dreadful. It just seems really long.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny that, again, the different kind of mentalities.
Yeah.
I do enjoy the really, you know, some longer rides too, 70, 80, 90 miles, but just a long effort solo just leaves you in your head for a bit too much.
I think for me, I started when I was 14 running, so I kind of knew what I was good at.
You knew your skill.
Yeah, I knew I like to run and like to run long distances, and I'm okay with that, being out there by myself. I would rather...
I like being out there by myself if I'm just kind of cruising, but I don't want to go out of there. And when I lived in New Mexico and the terrain was just amazing, then it's like, I can go out there and I can ride forever and push it up the mountains. But trying to do it with the groups out there was...
I can imagine. I don't climb very well, so I'm out.
I climb terribly.
I'm out.
Do you, what would you say would be your worst crash that you ever had?
5 years ago, and I was with Mike's ride, and John Laramie was my crash partner. We were separating the group, and we were cruising at like 32, and this guy pulled out. He went by us. He pulled right in front of him and I hit the car, and I fractured my clavicle right above my aorta in like 5 places, and I fractured my first rib and my scapula.
Wait, so you hit a parked car?
Oh, the car that turned in.
I thought it was a guy on a bike that...
No, he was in one of those big giant linking...
The urban assault vehicles, we call it.
No, there's not a scratch on it. And he was 88 years old. I had 2 choices. I can hit him right on. I kind of turned my shoulder, and I ended up getting two major surgeries right above my heart area. It was pretty dicey.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Was that like a critical kind of a thing because it was so close to the aorta?
It was right there on the bone. The fracture was just above the aorta. So, and it was one of those dicey moments,
How long were you in the hospital? I gotta imagine you were away for a while.
Well, no, so it was a whole screw up. The ER doctor was one of these, classic cases of incompetence. The ER doctor, you're laying there and your jerk is all ripped and you're like this, and he goes, "Hey, you have no fractures." And my ex at the time was a nurse for the hospital, a nurse practitioner, and she said, "Did you look at his chest area?" And it was starting to bruise. And he's like, "Oh, we should do some, dye testing to make sure I'm not bleeding internally." Now, 8 hours had already passed. I was in that ER at 7:45 in the morning, and I was on a stretcher for 12 hours in the ER, and it was just such a cluster of all these mistakes. So if you go to you kind of only advocate for yourself. He missed all the fractures. Well, when they all came back, he was like, "I had multiple fractures." So I had to find a trauma doctor who specialized in that kind of repair. No one had ever done it because it's kind of associated with the steering wheel accident.
Sure.
Or if you don't wear your seatbelt, it hits here. You bleed internally.
I wanted to interrupt for a second real quick. One of the things that is really important, and I'm not going to try to get onto a soapbox here, but if you remember when we spoke with Dr. Friedman, the cardiologist, and we spoke about how important it was to advocate for yourself. Nobody's perfect. Doctors aren't perfect. Yeah. And at the same time, you really are the only one who knows just how uncomfortable you are or just how big of an injury you could potentially have. So, if a lot of times you don't know, and the doctors don't know because they just look at you and probably just, it's probably a broken collarbone or a shoulder or something. So always advocate for yourself and do your own, make sure you speak up for yourself or have somebody with you who can, just because that sounds like pretty serious.
Yeah, so you have an ER doctor who's not a specialist, he's not a trauma doctor, who has the skill sets of seeing a little bit of everybody, and it was early in the morning, and I thought it was forgotten about. I was there for so long, and I actually had to go find a doctor that had done this surgery before, and had scheduled for like as soon as I could.
Must have been like putting together a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, and well, it was. I went in. This guy was great. He plated it, screwed everything back together. I went through the rehab. The ribs healed, the scapula healed, and then I went through. And so when I went through my recovery, I didn't realize I ended up breaking one of the screws that was like screwed into my clavicle. And
how'd that happen?
I guess through my therapy. And so I was I was like feeling good, and I went to the appointment, and this thing's sticking out. Like, he goes, I'm not going back and going to remove it.
Something's wrong.
He's like, well, the plate is on top of the bone. He goes, I'm not going to remove it. It's too dicey, because he had to scrub in a cardiovascular surgeon to make sure he didn't nick anything. So I went back. So I had one more visit to go to, and I said, I'm not going to go. It's fine. But and you're an athlete, right? You don't do that.
That's another problem that we have.
So I'm like, I'm good. So I went anyway, and he took his x-rays, and he goes, hey, don't bike this weekend. Let me show you something. And he pulls out the x-ray. He goes, you broke the screw, and it whittled its way through your clavicle, pointing towards your heart. And I would do surgery right now, but we're going to have to wait until Tuesday. So don't ride your bike this weekend. You don't want that thing floating around. And I said, can I ride my indoor trainer?
Oh my God.
And I did. So he had to remove the plate, and now I have the plate. So what I do is, that was like a experience for me of like a change of life experience, more of like appreciation of like, oh boy, it can happen quick. Mm-hmm. So I have it on my desk at work. It's a little
piece of screw?
Plate. The whole thing. He saved it for me.
Oh man!
And the cool thing is, when he took the picture of it, it looks like a bike chain.
Really?
It looks amazing. And inside here, when he did the surgery, I said, because he took pictures for me, because my ex knew the guy. So then they decontaminated it and saved it for me. So I've been looking at this company called Skeletal Jewelry to maybe make a ring or something out of it. Yeah, they can do that.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I just had.
it's pretty cool.
I just had some screws and plates put in my neck, and it looks like a Lego. It looks like Legos and all kinds of crazy things. It's just.
Well, I always pick it up in my office, and if I'm having a bad day, I just look at it and go, it's not that
Could be
bad.
worse. How long of a recovery did you have from that?
I was down. So I was down for the count for about 6-7 months.
Ooh, that's a long time.
And I got pretty angry. Like, I was like just so mad. Like, the guy never apologized. It was a really weird situation because the guy that hit me, and it wasn't purpose, it was an accident, right? But I always,
just a misjudgment, which they always do.
It was. And the whole thing for me was just say you're sorry. So he had lived in Mamaroneck, New York, where I had family.
So that would have made you okay with it if he was he hostile about it? Like you shouldn't have been on the road, or
no? He just never said. They never reach out. They shut down. It was kind of weird. He's 88 years old, and it was kind of very impersonal. So he lived in Mamaroneck, New York, and I had family up there that lived in the same street where this guy lived because he was from New York and he came down. And the elementary school that was right next to his house, my aunt up there, they kind of knew what happened. They knew it was pretty serious. The entire elementary school wrote little cards to me and mailed them to me. It was all these kids.
Really?
From the town that he was in.
That he was living in.
So at least I got, some love from his town. He never knew about that.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a rough one, man.
Yeah. So that was probably mine. No, that was the one,
That was
Alexa.
Alexa's our friend. Alexa's telling us how much time we have left before I have to change the battery or restart this thing. So we're going to take this as a chance to do that.
This is the most friendly cat in the world.
Oh, yeah. Hey, look, there's a cat. So for your racing, do you ride for a team? Are you a part of a team?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had 2 teams this year. I
Ah,
rode for Velo Brew.
that's out of Jacksonville,
When I race
Florida?
up north.
Okay.
When I do the bigger races, I wear their kit. And
What's
then-
Velobrew?
It's a team out of, well, I think Velo was probably a coffee, I don't even know, but it's, no, it's a bunch of guys from Jacksonville.
Okay.
Owen Schatz, like our top guy, and Trent Maddox. Guys are just super strong team out of the Jacksonville area. I'm not at, they have a lot of Cat 1-2 riders. I'm a Cat 3.
I've got a friend, Andy Hale, who
Yeah.
rides with those guys, I
They're
believe.
super strong.
Yeah,
And,
Andy Hale's a good guy.
So I've only, unfortunately, because there's just not a lot of racing right now in the northern part of Florida. I went and did Winter Haven, and I crashed out in the 45 plus race. Well, actually, I didn't crash. Yeah, I kind of crashed out. My seat got all messed up from hitting a curb.
Okay.
And then I came back and I did 35 plus, and I got to the win and break with like Bruno, someone, and all these top guys, 35 plus guys.
35 plus is a hard category for sure.
And Winter Haven, of course, with a lot of turns, and I took fifth in the 5-man break. They were all sprinters.
Yeah.
Well, it's not Curtis Long. There was another guy who's like a former national champion from Florida Velo.
Okay.
Yeah, Ken Vita.
Yeah, Ken
So
Davis is a strong guy.
with him, this guy Bruno, everyone, I didn't know who they were because
You don't follow that
I
category anyway.
I just got into the break. It was a complete it was a great move. I got into it and I was like, this is great.
This is it. Yeah.
All the South Florida guys are behind me. So, but then more importantly, down here, because I do a lot of racing down here, LC Tri Shop.
Okay, Leo.
Leo.
Yeah.
I wear his kit, and we have a good relationship because he has a good club. A lot of the guys race. I don't race when they come to my category. I'll race with them. Mainly they're 4s and 5s. A couple Masters guys.
Leo's a really good rider himself.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah, he's great. So what happens is if the races that I put on and I direct, I give them club pricing
Okay.
to come in. So we have a nice relationship where I want to get my friends and teammates that come to all my races that I put on as a race director, give them a nice discount, and then I race for the team as well when I'm not putting a race on. So it's nice, and he's got great customer service.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
Leo's an awesome dude.
Like you said, you're always going to get coffee when you go there.
Yes.
No matter what.
Oh, hey, I wasn't saying that. I said if you knew, if you were hearing it, you would know exactly which guy I was
Great
talking about in
customer
that thing. Speaking of Leo, he told me a couple years ago, and it might have been just talk, but he was trying to get a team together with Ralph Clemente, get Ralph Clemente back on the bike.
Yeah.
Ralph, it would be awesome to get you back on the bike maybe one day.
Yeah.
Possibly Mike Zingaro, Ralph's brother, and somebody else with Leo.
Yeah.
And they had, I don't remember who the other people were, but that would have been a pretty good team.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Glenn Schneider races with us as well.
Okay.
National champion last year in 60 plus, but they have some very strong young talent
Yeah.
on his club team, and I appreciate that. So I like when they come. I like to watch them race too. It's kind of cool. So there's a lot of talent.
Yeah.
A lot of talent.
Do you have any sponsors that you want to shout out to or recognize?
I mean, really, Leo's kind of he's the one as the club sponsor, and he hooks me up. So which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's good, I mean, he's been doing it for years, and that's really important. And then there's a company called Olympus.
Okay.
Speedworks.
Oh, yeah, I know that.
We're going to be riding their frame next year.
Yeah.
We'll sponsor it. We'll showcase it at all of our races in the fall.
Awesome.
Can't wait to bring it out.
Well, I'll make
Then
sure
they get some
to,
big W's on it.
Yeah, well, that would be nice. I guarantee you, if there's one thing that won't be slowing you down, that will be it.
All right, cool. Appreciate that.
If you had any advice for a younger rider or somebody who's getting into the sport, as somebody who's been competing in all kinds of sports since you were a kid, what would that advice be?
I just be persistent. I think that there's a guy I'll use as a prime example that came out to do my races last year. His name is Paul Soto.
Okay.
I think he moved to Georgia, a work thing. So this guy got dropped every single race at Traven's Park. Every race. But he was so excited about racing. And he had this passion. And you could see him just, he would even get lapped. And he'd come through the line and he would just, come on, Paul. And then he just kept pushing. I kept saying, I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going. And then this year he came in, finished every race with the group. Actually, I think he got on the podium once. So, persevering and being someone who doesn't give up, I think is important. I think that you have to first be very passionate about your sport. But,
sure, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to put the time.
Yeah, it's hard, when you, especially, when you're younger, and, if your parents are making you do something that you really don't want to do, you kind of just have to make that decision as a lifestyle, is that this is what you want to do. For me, and for you, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a lifestyle, we're a little different, when we crash, you want to get up and race. Most people crash and want to go home and they're done.
Sure.
So, it's a mentality. It's kind of like, I said, I'm not a drug addict, but
you can understand.
Cycling's my drug, my addiction. I'd rather be addicted to something completely healthy than something completely unhealthy.
Sure.
So I really look at it that way. So if you're going to have an addiction, make it be like an endurance sport. It doesn't matter what the sport is, as long as you're really passionate about it. You can't teach that. You can't teach passion. You can't teach dedication. You can't teach work ethic. You're born with those things. Now, you can develop them maybe over time and have routine. But I think we're a unique species out there that gets out there and just gets it done.
When my son was really young, I remember having a conversation with his mother and said, I don't care what it is, but he needs to have passion for something. I don't care if it's ballet. I don't care if it's a musical instrument or riding a bike or whatever it is, but having passion for something is really important. Having something to stand for, and really having something that you love can just make life a lot better too.
Well, I it's not my saying, but it is a saying that if you love what you do, like in the work environment, as a parks director for 8 years,
it'd be fun
for 33 years. It's a stressful job, but if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life.
Yeah, and you get a good tan.
Yeah.
As you can see, Kevin's got a nice tan.
I was at the pool today.
So, do you have anything else that you want to add? What I'm going to do is, Kevin is also a race promoter, as I mentioned earlier, and I'm going to segment this off into a separate video to talk about the race promotions.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else that you want to add about Kevin Abbate, the cyclist, and now would be the time to mention it.
Well, I'm pretty, and the group rides, I think I'm very aggressive, but I don't ride a lot of miles. That's kind of my secret. I don't. People would be highly shocked if they knew how many miles I put on my Garmin. The average week, it's in the low hundreds.
Really?
Yeah, it may be in like.
Well, maybe that leaves you a little bit fresh.
So, but what I do is I'll ride a couple days a week, maybe 3, 4 would be a great week for me. But I supplement it. I do stair climbing. I hit the back.
Gym?
Hit the bag. Do really kick-ass core workout.
You can't see Kevin because he's sitting down, but this guy's shredded. He's not just riding his bike, and I think that probably adds to your fitness too overall.
I do it 7 days a week. I try not to take any days off because I don't really consider the gym a workout. I consider riding my bike and burying myself a workout. But to go to the gym, I started some new, like I call it, what my girlfriend called Kev Fit. It's like 800 consecutive exercise with dumbbells and all kinds of things. It's just like a CrossFit thing, but I do it. It's about a 40-minute workout, and
like
when you're done
intervals of some sort.
It's muscular endurance, and it wipes you out. And I do that once a week. So just to kind of do something. And I'm not a big gym meathead, but I like to do kind of functional body movements. I think that being very linear on the bike ultimately is bad for your hips over time. That you need to do other things. Once a week, I hit the bag, or for fighting, a little bit of kickboxing, and I'll do that for about a half hour, 40 minutes of just straight doing that. I'll do that once in a while.
I
So-
saw in your garage you have a big paddle board, right? Is that a paddle board or a
That's
canoe?
my girlfriend's, kayak,
Okay.
The intercoastal's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say is your favorite form of exercise as far as cross training goes, or the most valuable for you to recommend to somebody else who's looking for something to supplement?
I think that the biggest thing for me is core, planking and core. I have a 33-minute record plank I have on the books.
What?
Yeah, and then my biggest thing is developing a really super strong core, which is why I don't have to ride a lot. I've never had any back issues. Knock on something, but anyway, so I have a really strong core. That's my
How do you
plan.
not fall asleep? I would fall asleep
Music.
after 33
Well, you know
minutes.
that whole like riding by yourself. You know,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
That you develop a mentality.
Wow, that's
But
impressive.
But if you do a 33-minute plank, when you're done with that plank, you'll think you just did a 100-mile bike ride on the limit. Because when you're done, you're cooked.
Oh man,
But it's total body engagement. I mean, you can't.
you can't
You
not be
cannot.
doing
There's
it.
nothing that doesn't engage itself. As things fail in your body, whether it's your quads, your legs, your glutes, your back, you're readjusting your arms. And when you were done, my arms were. I had worked up to it. I had calluses on my.
Do you have any kind of
forearms.
padding or
Yeah.
anything under it, or just?
I had a towel, and then you move around a lot. It's hard.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
imagine that would mess up your shoulder. I know you just had shoulder
Yeah.
surgery.
Well, that was I got hit and run last year in my automobile up in Orlando at a conference, and the girl left me for dead. And that was.
You were on your bike and
No,
got hit by a car. Or you were in a car.
I was in a car,
And they
and
just
she
took
hit
off.
the back of my car. I was trying to avoid her, and then she hit it, and I spun out of control, and I hit a tree, split my engine in half, and all 6 airbags went boom, boom, and I fractured both shoulders, and car caught on fire. It was like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago this November, and it was not good. That's kind of why I was getting cortisone shots in my shoulder, and nothing was working. But I had an amazing surgeon. I went through it. I recovered really
You got
well.
quick recovery from that, for sure.
I was really excited to, be able to be functional. I have an little Achilles issue from that issue that I have that kind of reemerged.
From slamming on the brake
Yeah,
or something, or?
Jumping off the car out of the sunroof when it was on fire into a firing pile.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so
That's, yeah.
that's not a bike accident, but it was, and all my employees were there.
Oh, because everybody was at
we're
the
at a
conference.
conference, and they all met me in the hours early in the morning, and I'm a kind of a comedian when I have to be, and I had just started dating my girlfriend Sarah, and she was a sweetheart and took care of me, and I was like, oh, this is a keeper. So they all came in the yard, and I'm like, and I had a seat collar, and I took off. They go, you should leave this. I go, I'm fine. I go, and they could see that like I wasn't fine.
You weren't fine.
So I said, look at me, guys. No matter what, we're going to Rocco's Tacos tonight. And they're like,
And the big sombrero with the big sombrero.
And we went to Rocco's Tacos that night, and the next morning I woke up and I was cooked.
Oh, well, hopefully you had some tequila.
Yeah,
to
we did.
help you with
Yeah,
that.
it was bad. But the only that situation was the girl leaves the scene. You see a car up on a tree, it just on fire.
Well,
and just,
she was probably drunk or something.
it was
Maybe
young,
they
yeah,
got
she was
out
a
there.
young teenager and she was scared. And it was again, to this date, no call. Hey, how you doing? And that's what I don't understand about society, the caring part of society. Where I think that there's somebody that do care. People, it goes a long way to say you're sorry.
Yeah, or even just
Yeah.
to say, hey,
Yeah.
how you doing?
Yeah, how's it going?
You alive?
I know I left you there for dead.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I could go on a whole tangent
Yeah.
about just the lack of compassion and humanity.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily something that
Yeah.
I would keep in the show. I
Yeah.
probably would edit that
I
out,
understand.
but there is a complete lack of compassion,
Yeah.
and
Well, cyclists get it tough. Today when I rode, I had a guy come within inches, and I eventually caught him, and I looked at him, and he rolled his window down. He rolled his window down, and I said, hey, and I learned
not
to,
confrontational.
I learned to not get angry anymore. And he just said, I said, hey, when you come that close to me, it's pretty frightening. He goes, well, the car next to me was pushing me. I go, you're in a 350 Ford F-350 giant truck. You can push him. But he was just, he never said he was sorry. He just kind of had an excuse.
Well, he was freaked out
Yeah.
too, probably,
Well,
because he's not used to being confronted.
Yeah, I wanted to know, and I'll say this to cyclists too. If somebody beeps at you, that is a good thing. The fact that someone beeps at you means they see you. And
As long as they're not laying on the horn to scare the crap out of you.
If they want to do that, they still see you. Imagine it's when they don't see you.
Yeah, I guess so.
And I don't even, I used to wear a lot of headphones when I ride, and I had a cop pull me over once, and he said, you're not allowed to wear headphones while you ride. I said, can I be honest with you? I go, if somebody hits me from behind, I don't want to know what's coming.
Yeah, but that's my thing with mirrors. These people want to have mirrors on their helmets, and you go, what is that going to do? You're not, if you do see it coming.
I don't want to know what's coming.
No. There was a story a few years ago, speaking of incidents with cars, and actually the next interview we do is actually going to be with an attorney who's a cyclist, and he's also an attorney advocate for cyclists. So these are some things that we'll bring up with him. But there was a thing a few years ago for those of you who don't know South Florida, you're not going to know the streets, but it was on A1A near Palmetto. And there was a group of riders, and there was a guy in a Lexus convertible who went up on the group of the riders, sat behind them, laid on the horn, drove around them, slammed on his brakes, and did it again, did it a couple times. And the riders caught him at a light and confronted him about it. And he pulled the gun.
Yeah.
And it was in the newspapers, it was all over, and this guy says he felt threatened. Yet he spent probably a half hour harassing people on bikes with a deadly vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
So at the end of the day, they are always in a bigger weapon than you are.
Yeah,
just being in a car, you're going to lose.
Yeah.
So what they don't realize in the car is that they have our lives in their hands. Yeah. They think they're screwing around by honking a horn and watching us freak out or jump when they lay on the horn. And I'm talking more to the people who are not riders that are watching the show, maybe people who are family members or just are just watching this by chance. But what people don't realize is that the person on a bicycle is somebody's brother, sister, wife, husband, daughter, son, friend, whatever. And when you get behind somebody and you lay on the horn, all it takes is them to go the wrong direction and they're under your wheels and you're dead. Yeah. The person on the bicycle does not survive that kind of a thing. And for a person in a car to do something like that, even, especially on purpose, but then get aggressive afterwards, these are people's lives, and people are dying a lot.
I'll tell you two stories. Well, one that all riders should know is that carry uninsured motorist on your insurance because it covers you on your bike.
I will definitely.
I didn't do that my first time around. On my first accident, I had the minimum, the 10,000. But if you get uninsured motorist on your bike, covers you on your bicycle.
Wait, uninsured motorist on your car insurance?
On your car insurance covers you on your bike.
Really?
Yeah. So if you're in an accident, it's a vehicle bike accident. Your bike is a vehicle. You're covered on your uninsured motorist program.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and that will be something any attorney will tell you. They'll say, "Do you have uninsured motorist?" And I said, "Yes, I do." I said, "I have the minimum." I didn't click the box. I declined it. I didn't know, but now that I know, I carry a very high amount, and you could stack it too. So if I have 250, which I have 250 on my uninsured motorist, and if you have, if you're married and your wife has a car, you could stack it, and you could have $500,000 to cover you while you're on your bike.
Could be expensive.
Oh yeah.
I was in a car accident last year, and it herniated a disc in my neck, and I needed surgery, and there was all kinds of things that happened from this car accident, and there was limits on the insurance, and you don't get too much out of that.
No,
and you're lucky if you can get all of your not after them for sure, but you don't get covered too much, and you end up having to maybe take chances that you wouldn't necessarily take when it comes to making decisions on your health.
Yeah.
So covering
Yeah.
something like an uninsured motorist.
Yeah, and basically what ends up happening is that you have to end up suing your own insurance company to get it.
Yeah.
So the guy that hit you and hurt you has no insurance. You can go back on your own insurance. So I'll tell you a really funny, but it was an aggressive story that wound up being funny and in my favor. And it happened last year on A1A. And I write only on A1A. There was a guy, I don't want to name his company, but he had his company on the side of it. Get a GoPro, number one, and start it. It's a lifesaver.
Do you put it in the front or the back?
In the front.
Okay.
So I'm always, I use my mouth as a horn. So if someone's going to pull out front of me, I go, hey! So I did that to a guy who rolled a stop sign in a really affluent part of town right before Delray Beach. And he got spooked, I guess. But, he didn't roll through the stop sign and kill me and the guy behind me. And he pulled up, and he started yelling at us. Blah, blah. I go, God. And he ran me off the road.
And you had it on camera.
Yeah. He ran me off the road, and I lost my garment. So I was infuriated. I'm like, and then he turned around and went back the other way. Now, he had the name of his company. I won't say the name of it.
I totally wish you would. They made it right?
Yeah, he made it right though.
Okay.
So here's the story. So he had the name of the company. So he turned around, he booked, and I was riding with the guy I got into this confrontation with, and I was just like, I'm gonna call this company. I'm like, hey, do you have a driver of your vehicle, blah, blah? And they're like, oh, yeah. So the guy calls me, and he's the owner of the company.
The guy that the incident
Yeah.
with? Okay.
And he starts, I said, hey, you almost, you ran me off the road, and I lost my computer. And I said, he goes, he started getting even more angry. So I said, you know what? I'm going to come to your house and see you, and I'm going to call the police. He goes, don't come to my house. I go, oh, I'm coming. So
I'm bringing the police.
And I said, you're threatening me. I go, so what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the video to I have 2,700 friends on Facebook, and they're all going to see it.
And they're all locals.
And they're all locals. I go, and your company is in Delray, so he's like dropping F-bombs, and I said, click. So I'm writing back. I forget the police. I called the police, Gulfstream or something.
Yeah, you were pretty angry at this point.
And I said, hey, he goes, hey, the guy, he said, this is Sergeant so-and-so. He goes, the guy called us too, and he wants to meet us off A1A. So the guy,
he already called the police before you did.
Yeah. So we go ahead and we're off the side of the road, and then the deputy comes up and he goes, what happened? I go, here's what happened. And I go, well, on the GoPro. He wants to apologize.
Well, the cop must have talked to him
And
for a few minutes first.
He goes, this isn't the first time we've been to his house. We've been to his house before. He's got some problems.
Oh,
I said, okay. So I walked up to the guy, and
anger problems by any chance?
Yeah. So I go, hey man, I said, I'm cool, man. He goes, I lost my. He goes, whatever it is. He goes, I'll pay for it. I was like, so I call up on the bike shop. I go, I want the latest Garmin.
The newest, best.
Yeah. So I got and the guy was legit. He wrote me a check like the next day. He wrote a check, mailed it out, no problem. Sorry about it. He didn't want the bad press.
No.
It would have been bad for his company. He made it right. He was angry. I diffused it. I kind of called. I'm like, hey, I had it on video. I never released it. I just deleted it. Legitimately, he made it right, so I was cool with it. But on A1A, get your insurance.
It's just a shame that you have to go to the police and you have to go through all of those just to get somebody to act like a human.
Yeah.
To another human.
Yeah. He legitimately ran us off the road, and I was just like, wow, and we were going easy.
Well, a lot of times you see those kind of incidents happen when they completely misjudge the speed of the person on the bike.
Yeah.
Right? And they go, they're assuming that you're on a bicycle and you're going a couple miles an hour, but they don't realize that you're at 21, 22 miles an hour. And they just turn right in front of you and you're
Yeah.
running to the side of them.
Yeah, and that was part of the problem. So, but it worked out well. But you know, I think that, I mean, I just try to be a little bit more patient
Yeah.
on the bike. Alexa.
Our friend Alexa. So, this is Kevin Abbate, the cyclist. In the next interview, we're going to be talking to Kevin Abbate, the race promoter. I got a lot of questions that I want to ask Kevin and talk with him about some ideas and some plans that he's got going on. Please subscribe to the Riders Rep channel YouTube page, as well as our Instagram and Facebook. I want to thank our sponsor, Olympus Speedworks. Check them out, olympusspeed.com. If you've got any comments or questions, or you think you'd be a good guest for the show, please contact me at ridersrepchannel@gmail.com. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next time.